ChatGPT, AI machines,
satellite, engine ignition,
click here,
and liftoff.
From Recorded Future News and PRX, this is Click Here's Mic Drop, a longer listen to one of our favorite conversations of the week. I'm Dina Temple-Rust. In Moncks Corners, South Carolina, behind a stand of pines, sit rows of unmarked white buildings. They're part of Google's expanding network of data centers, facilities that store and move nearly everything we do online.
You would not be able to see the data center from the road. So it's nestled behind trees.
Shannon Wait used to work there, walking aisle after aisle of servers that never seemed to sleep.
Have you ever seen the show Severance?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Did it feel severance-y to you?
It did feel severance-y.
Today, she's a union organizer. But back then, she was one of those thousands of contract workers who keep the digital world running from these giant warehouses. She was pretty excited about working for Google.
It kind of felt like winning the lottery at the time.
But the job turned out to be more complicated than she expected. And when she wanted to talk about it, well, that didn't go over very well.
It is discouraged to really discuss any negative implications of the data center. It's not explicitly discouraged. I believe it's kind of an underlying theme. You know, it's a cool place to work. Why would you complain about it?
When we come back, how a grad student studying ancient Egypt ended up tangling with the peril and promise of the cloud. Stay with us.
Support comes from Dakota State University. What happens when you unite dynamic minds with one revolutionary vision? A rising force on the cutting edge of everything. From a little university on the prairie to a cyber powerhouse of the plains, we're proving the nation's best cyber can come from where you least expect it. Now, we're molding the future of cyber, AI, and quantum computing one graduate at a time. See what Dakota State University is building next at dsucyber27.com.
Support for Click Here comes from Clean My Mac. If you're like me, your cloud drives are packed with files you don't actually need. Sync duplicates, old backups, random junk just gobbling up storage. Clean My Mac takes care of that with a new cloud cleanup feature. It connects to your accounts on iCloud, OneDrive, and Google Drive and scans to find large space wasters, both in cloud storage and on your device. And while my Mac health is apparently excellent, Clean My Mac found 8 gigabytes of junk on my computer and tons of duplicate downloads, and it removed a bunch of leftover applications I never use. Who knew? And this happens locally on my Mac, so my data stays safe. Clean My Mac has a whole suite of other features, too, including their Moonlight anti-malware engine. With just a click, the anti-malware tool scans and removes viruses, ensuring your Mac remains threat-free. Not everything deserves eternal storage, so why pay for it? Get tidy today with Clean My Mac. Try it free for 7 days and use the promo code CLICK to save an additional 20% on your purchase at cleanmymac.com.
I'm Dina Temple-Rust, and this is Click Here's Mic Drop.
Shannon Wait never set out for a career in tech. She started out as an Egyptologist, an obsession that began very young.
We had show and tell in first grade, and I brought a book about Tutankhamun and read some pages from that book to the class. And whenever we had to do a book report of any kind, I would create or recreate a tomb, an Egyptian tomb with Legos. The plan was to become a professor and focus on the history of Egypt.
But all that grad school needed to be paid for. And just as she was trying to figure out how to do that, a friend told her Google was hiring technicians and that she'd be a shoo-in for the job. Now, Shannon didn't know exactly what a data technician did, but the schedule would allow her to keep going to class and pay for her loans, so it seemed like a win. This was back in 2019, so she applied and got the job. Google had arrived in South Carolina back in 2007, promising to create hundreds of jobs and millions of dollars in tax revenue. So, to Shannon, it seemed like this could be a steady and potentially lucrative gig.
I interviewed for a position of a data center technician, and I started working at the Google data center. And
it wasn't the job she was expecting.
I thought I was going to work directly for the company. But it wasn't until my first day that I was told that I was working under a contract.
She was actually working for a contractor named Modus. Google and other tech companies use these outside staffing firms to find workers to do specialized support and to meet surges in demand. As soon as she stepped inside the data center, Shannon felt like she was in another world.
So when you walk into the Google data center, the hum hits you. Immediately, it sounds like you're walking into a wind tunnel. It's almost surreal in the way that it just sounds like you're on another planet or something.
In some areas of the center, that hum goes from ambient to deafening.
There are machines that are as loud as an airplane jet engine. That you cannot even go on that aisle without special hearing protection. And to this day, I kind of question the quality of my own hearing since working at the data center.
Each morning, Shannon would get a message on her phone with instructions on where to start the day. It'd say, go to building 10, rack 40. So she'd drive over there, scan her badge, grab her tools from her cabinet, and stack them on a cart.
And then move on over to the server rack or the machine in question, and whatever you have to do to, repair the machine, it's going to show up on the computer screen, and you just perform that repair.
She'd haul machines that could weigh as much as 50 pounds off the giant racks. She'd tinker with their insides and then log each repair in 1-minute increments. She'd swap hard drives, replace motherboards, then lug the machine back up onto the rack and start all over again. And while the work was vital, it was pretty repetitive.
You don't need a gym membership if you're doing repairs on the machines at the Google data center.
The pressure, as Shannon saw it, was constant because their contracts were short, and no one was ever quite sure if they'd be renewed.
My friend, I saw her crying on the data center floor one day over her work and asked her what was wrong, and it was around the middle of December at the time. And she said that she didn't buy her kids Christmas presents because her contract is up on January 1st, and she still didn't know if she was going to have a job.
That uncertainty seemed to hover over everyone. And while Google says many of its contract workers do move into full-time roles, Shannon said no one ever explained how that happened. So she just did what she could, worked harder, faster, longer, hoping it would keep her name on the list.
I always strived to do between 80 and 120 cases a day. In order to keep my contracts getting extended. And they did. I got my contracts extended.
It was exhausting work. Long hours, constant monitoring, and few breaks.
It could get very hot in the data center, and I would drink so much water. I think, 4 to 5 Camelback quarts of water a day.
Then one day, the cap on her water bottle broke, and the small request to replace it turned into a bigger deal than Shannon ever imagined. We'll be right back. Support for Click Here comes from ExpressVPN. Going online without ExpressVPN is like not having a case for your phone. Most of the time, you'll probably be fine. But all it takes is one drop, and you'll wish you spent those extra few dollars on a case. Every time you connect to an unencrypted network in cafes, hotels, airports, your online data is at risk. It doesn't take much for someone to hack your device so they can steal and sell your personal information. ExpressVPN protects against that by creating a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. And the security is top-notch. In fact, it would take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to get past ExpressVPN's encryption. Best of all, the app is incredibly easy to use and can be installed on all your devices. So go ahead, log on to that Wi-Fi in your local cafe, but make sure you have ExpressVPN first, so you don't end up with a nasty surprise. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/clickhere. That's expressvpn.com/clickhere to find out how you can get up to 4 extra months free. expressvpn.com/clickhere. Support for ClickHere comes from Claude AI. Claude is the AI for minds that don't stop at good enough. It's the collaborator that actually understands your entire workflow and thinks with you, not for you. Whether you're debugging code at midnight or strategizing your next business move, Claude extends your thinking to tackle the problems that matter. Why settle for a basic search when you can have a real conversation with Claude? Claude doesn't just fetch results. It helps you think and brainstorm and summarize and draft and even explain. Whether you're untangling a tricky article, preparing interview questions, or polishing up a memo, Claude can help. Ready to tackle bigger problems? Sign up for Claude today and get 50% off Claude Pro when you use this link. Claude.ai/clickhere. That's Claude.ai/clickhere. Right now for 50% off your first 3 months of Claude Pro. And that includes access to all of the features mentioned in today's episode. Claude.ai/clickhere.
You should tell the people who we are and what our new show is. I'm Robert Smith, and this is Jacob Goldstein, and we used to host a show called Planet Money. And now we're back making this new podcast about the best ideas and people and businesses in history. And some of the worst people, horrible ideas, and destructive companies in the history of business. We struggled to come up with a name, decided to call it Business History. You know why? Why? Because it's a show about the history of business. Available everywhere you get your podcasts.
Shannon Wait had been working at the data center for almost 2 years. She'd learned the systems, kept up with the pace, and she was proud of the fact that she'd become one of the fastest technicians on her team. But over time, she started to realize that no matter how hard she worked, a full-time job at Google probably wasn't in the cards.
I think that the writing was on the wall for me.
It's a familiar story, the promise of opportunity just out of reach. And when the path forward isn't clear, frustration has a way of finding an outlet. And for Shannon, that was Facebook. She began posting about the data center, complaining about the pay and working conditions.
I was talking about the $15 an hour issue, which for a multi-trillion-dollar company just didn't feel like enough.
And one of her posts mentioned this small frustration. Her water bottle cap had broken, and she asked a supervisor if she could get a new one, only to be told the company didn't provide replacements for contract workers.
And I requested a new one, and a Google manager said, "No, we're not replacing your water bottle because you're just a contract worker." Like, that totally didn't sit right with me. And I thought, you're not going to let me get a new water bottle that might have cost 20 cents wholesale, when I'm doing all of this heavy manual labor for lower pay. I'm not worth a new water bottle.
Shannon posted something about it on social media, and apparently Google or its contractor tracked employees' social media accounts because the very next day she was approached by a security guard.
Security came and found me on the data center floor, walked me out, escorted me out of the data center, and I thought I was done for.
Within hours, representatives from the Alphabet Workers Union reached out. That's the trade union for workers at Google's parent company, Alphabet. They filed a complaint with the National Labor Relations Board on Shannon's behalf, and the NLRB eventually ruled that the company violated labor law by prohibiting workers from talking about working conditions, including pay and benefits.
Google violated my Section 7 rights to organize, and the company had to settle with me.
And while Google didn't have to admit to any wrongdoing, it did say publicly that it wouldn't interfere with workers discussing wages or working conditions, and that it wouldn't stand in the way of workers organizing. Shannon was eventually reinstated and returned to work.
The site manager at the time of the Google data center, when I was getting my access to the data center reinstated, approached me and gave me a brand new water bottle himself.
Did he apologize?
He didn't apologize. He seemed nervous, though. I think it's because my story went public with Bloomberg and the BBC.
When her contract ended in 2021, Shannon decided she wouldn't be going back to the data center. Instead, she became an organizer for the Alphabet Workers Union. Now she tries to educate people about what it really means when a data center comes to town offering locals work.
Whenever there's this hype about data centers and AI creating jobs, there should be some skepticism that goes along with that, because I know from experience that those jobs are not actual jobs that are sustainable.
While large data centers can boost local tax bases and create hundreds of jobs, the work is mostly initial construction jobs, and only a small share of those eventually become permanent positions. Google, for its part, says the Monk's Corner complex remains a model of economic development, a $1 billion investment that local officials say provides steady work for residents. Shannon Wait sees it a little differently. She says it's a reminder that the digital economy still runs on physical labor and on the backs of people like her. From Recorded Future News, this has been Click Here's Mic Drop. It was written and produced by Megan Dietrich, Sean Powers, Erica Gaida, Zach Hirsch, Lucas Riley, and me, Dina Temple-Raston. It was edited by Karen Duffin. We'll be back on Tuesday with an all-new episode of Click Here. Have a great weekend.
Looking for more of the cybersecurity and intelligence coverage you get on Click Here? Then check out our sister publication, The Record, from Recorded Future News. You'll get breaking cyber news from reporters in New York, Washington, London, and Kyiv, among others. And you'll see for yourself why it attracts hundreds of thousands of page views every month. Just go to therecord.media.